With the Jets officially eliminated from the playoffs, we're going to talk about what went wrong and why they fell off a cliff. Hey, what's going on? I'm Matt O'Leary back with another video. What's going on? You can follow on socials, Matt O'Leary and why. Also, please make sure to subscribe to the Just Jets podcast wherever it is that you get your podcast. All right, what went wrong for the 2022 New York Jets? How much time do you have? Things started off really good. They were 5-2 and then 6-3 at the bye, 7-4 at one point, and then they lost 5 games in a row and eliminated themselves from the playoffs. So what happened? How did they get to this point? Let's talk about it. One, injuries were a major factor to why they came up short and why things began to change as the season went on. We know before the season started, you lost Mekhi Becton, Zach Wilson got hurt. There were a couple of things that really, made you feel a little bit worried. But the two that really derailed this season happened in the same game. It was losing Breece Hall and Elijah Vera Tucker for the season. Those were your two best offensive players by far, not even remotely close, not up for debate. Elijah Vera Tucker played 3 different positions, left tackle, right tackle, and right guard in 7 games. He was arguably the team's most valuable player, and that was with Quinnen Williams going off as well. Breece Hall was the favorite to win Offensive Rookie on the Year, was scoring a touchdown every single week at that point before he got hurt. Had a monster game even before he got hurt against the Denver Broncos. Losing those two guys, they were 5-2 through 7 games with those two. Since then, 2-7. That's it. They've only been able to beat the Buffalo Bills once and the Chicago Bears. Those are your only 2 wins over that stretch. Losing both of those guys was terrible for this team. Another thing is quarterback play. You could count on one hand probably how many times they got average quarterback play. They don't have a top 30 quarterback in the league on the roster. Zach Wilson showed that he wasn't good enough this year, didn't take a big enough step, really lost it. Like something is very wrong with Zach Wilson, and you can't go into next year with him as the starter. Didn't even show you enough where it's like, we still don't know, but we'd like to continue to give him another chance. If he's going to be on the roster, it's not going to be as a starter next year. Mike White, there were some nice moments, but yes, he was hurt and not 100% against Seattle. Still not, that's not who you're going to, put all your eggs in the Mike White basket going into 2023. That's not happening. Joe Flacco is a statue at this point. He's going to retire. Chris Streveler's fun, but not an NFL quarterback. He's someone who is, you could use as like a Taysom Hill kind of package or Colin Kaepernick before he took over for Alex Smith kind of package. But the quarterback play was another big reason why the Jets weren't able to sustain their early season success. Offensive line comes in at number 3 on my list. Pretty much needs to be remade again because Elijah Vera Tucker, who again got hurt, is really the only reliable piece on that line. Dwayne Brown's going to be 40. Like Dwayne Brown is not a long-term solution. Band-Aid fix could be back, sure. Laken Tomlinson looks like an absolute swing and a miss in free agency. He's been abysmal. Do you get out of that contract? Do you bring him back and hope that it works? McGovern's a free agent. Do you bring him back? What do you do at right tackle? To me, I don't even think it's a debate that you have to draft an offensive tackle or some sort of offensive lineman. Probably offensive tackle, actually. You know what? I stand by that. Offensive tackle in the first round. You have to. Best one available, you pull the trigger, you draft. You have to because this offensive line needs a ton of work. And obviously they need an upgrade at quarterback, but you also need to upgrade on the offensive line. The defense, while still very good, and yes, they struggled a little bit the last few weeks, the biggest reason why was they stopped creating turnovers. In their first 9 games, they had 14 turnovers. They were 6-3 in those games. In their last 7, when they are 1-6, right? Yes, 1-6 in those last 7 games. 2. 14-2. That is your biggest issue. Not creating turnovers, not giving your offense extra possessions. That's why they started losing games. Inconsistency at the coaching, whether it be the offensive coordinator, the play caller, defensive coordinator, still don't really have any issue after the first 3 weeks of the year. I thought he really turned it on, was good. Head coach, I like Robert Saleh a lot. I think he's coming back next year. I think he deserves to come back. I think he showed some progress. Still some issues with some in-game management, like we saw at the end of the Detroit game. And the team not being up for Jacksonville and Seattle, pretty much 2 playoff games, that has to fall on the coach. Like, again, I like Saleh. I think he should be brought back. I think he's done a relatively good job, but that is 100% on the coaching staff that this team was not up for the game. I don't care about the injuries. I don't care about that it's a tough place to play. You have to travel there, but all that stuff, don't care. That is on the coach. And last, and I'm sure you guys can get at me with more in the comments, but the last one that I want to talk about is special teams. What made this Jets team so good early on in the year is their special teams were really, really good. That quickly changed at about the halfway point of the year. Braden Mann cannot be the punter next year. He cost them a handful of games this year. He was drafted in 2020, so since he was a draft pick, he obviously stuck around a little bit, but they had a better punter on their roster last year. After Braden Mann got hurt, they brought in Thomas Morstead. He punted. He was better. Then Mann comes back from the injury. They cut Morstead. Morstead's punting for a division rival who has a really good chance to make the playoffs in the Miami Dolphins. And Braden Mann is still shaking punts for this team 3 years in. It's not good. And Braxton Berrios, what the hell happened to Braxton Berrios? Can we just talk about that too? He was an all-pro last year. Now is he playing scared? Is he allergic to fair catching? I don't know what the hell is going on with Braxton Berrios, but he looks completely lost back there trying to return punts. He doesn't field punts that he should, lets them bounce. They get pinned inside the 5, bad field position. It looks like, again, I think the best way that I could describe it is it looks like that he's playing scared. And this is a guy who was an all-pro, one of the best returners in the league last year, and he's been abysmal. He's been a pretty much a non-factor, a net negative this year for this team, and he got a hefty contract. They paid him handsomely after a really good year. He was comfortable with Zach Wilson, and he wasn't much of a factor as a receiver, which is fine. You know, you add in a little bit more talent. You bring in Garrett Wilson, bring in some tight ends, and Braxton's numbers go down. I get that, but I mean, how could the Vikings drop to the rest of the way has been abysmal, terrible. It's frustrating. It's incredibly frustrating that this is where the season ended up after starting 6-3, 5-2, 6-3, 7-4, whichever number you want to pull first. Now being 7-9 and eliminated, it stinks. It really stinks. So that's it. That's what went wrong for the Jets in 2022. You let me know in the comments what else you think, what you agree with, what you disagree with. Sound off. Get after me on social media. Subscribe here if you're new. I'm Matt O'Leary, and I will talk to you next time.